Welcome back to another Hearts of Iron 4 video. Today I'm giving you guys about 10 things that you did not know you could do in Hearts of Iron 4 to help you guys play better in single player and multiplayer. Now, really quick, I wanted to say I'm very sorry if the quality seems lower than usual or my voice sounds a bit different. Basically, what ended up happening is I normally use Shadowplay to record my videos, and they recently released an update to allow people to do RTX tracing to make games look better, but instead it completely broke Shadowplay to the point where it won't pick up my mouse. So instead I'm using my backup software, OBS. So for the first thing I'm going to show you guys, it's actually kind of two things tied into one. First off, we're using our little thing here on a, defenseless little nation. Now, here's what it is. Basically, find any bubble on a map currently where there's a battle. After you've found the bubble, click it, and up here in the center, you can click what's called the tactics list. Now, you might be wondering, well, what is the point of the tactics? Oh, I better keep that open, actually. You might be wondering, what is the point over here with the tactics list? Now, it's actually two things. One, you can actually look here and see what battles are currently being used. This is the current tactics the generals are choosing from, but more importantly, when you go through this list, it will tell you the different tactics and usually when they're able to be deployed. Now, it also gives you ideas about the different bonuses and things you can do, but here is probably the best part. If you scroll down here at the bottom, now I want to say this. In a few different multiplayer games I've been experiencing, some people have found out how to do the dual industry exploit again, except they're using land doctrines with it. Now, here's how you can check and see if they've cheated. At the very bottom of the list, once you've gone to war with somebody, click the battle and look here at the bottom of the tactics list, and it will actually tell you these doctrines are locked because neither side actually has these different doctrines. And it also shows multiple different ones. Like it says, to gain backhand blow, you need further down superior firepower or mass assault doctrine. For the next tip, you can actually make front lines like you used to be able to before man the guns, or correction, before waking the tiger. Now, what normally happens to people whenever they try to make a front line, let's actually go ahead and delete the ones our generals have here. Now, whenever someone tries to make a front line, they usually get one of these, where basically the divisions are kind of split up, where you'll have one army group here, another army group here, another army group here. Basically, before man the guns, you used to be able to make front lines like that. And what ends up happening is instead of putting the generals into different areas, this actually evenly splits the troops among the entire front line and spreads them out accordingly. Here is how you're able to do this. Basically, you do not have to have any DLCs, okay? Make sure you select the field marshal himself, click front line, and hold left shift down and right click the front line. Or the other way to do this is to do the exact same thing, but if you want to do an entire front line, hold left shift down and just simply left click the front line. And basically the difference is that one is a what's called defensive front line, where everything is on the line evenly. This is just a regular front line, where that way generals will go to different areas and you can set up battle plans to attack from different territories like that. Compared to this way now, if we do this one more time, a defensive line, your generals are not going to be able to actually push off compared to, like I said one more time, compared to now. While we're still in this area, before we actually take out France, I want to show you guys one more thing you can do. Most of the time, people want to go total mobilization, but they don't want to take the 3% hit to manpower. Now, this works for every single country, and this is not an exploit. Now, currently, you do not have a way to do this decision. It's called women in the workforce. Now, here's what happens. The only thing you have to do to actually get this is be at war. Someone else has enough factories to where they're really close to your level. I did a whole nother video on that. I'm not going to get into that today. However, just make sure that the enemy country is very close to you in your terms of your factory count. Now, the big thing with this is make sure you'll have at least 79% war support if you're communist or democratic, or if you're a fascist nation, you need to have 89% war support, which is actually kind of weird for that. But let's go ahead and cheat a little bit, and we're just going to add 10% war support. That way we can do this, okay? So since we have at least 89% war support, here's what happens. Once you go total mobilization, which takes 3% manpower away, you'll now have a decision called women in the workforce, which gives you the 3% manpower back. This essentially means that you can go 2 total mobilization as long as you have a high enough war support, and not take any kind of hit to your recruitable population, because the 3% you lose, you get back with another decision as long as you have that level of war support. But remember this, every country that does this decision, I think the United States gets a special one called Rosie the Riveter, which does not take a stability hit, but all of them have the same thing, 100 political power for 5% stability, but you get 3% recruitable pop, giving you total mob with no hit to manpower. Now, this is a little bit of a bonus tip that I'm not going to include in really the 10 list, but instead, this is still something that everybody in Hearts of Iron 4 should know, in my personal opinion. Now, here's what ends up happening if you don't have air superiority. If you don't have air superiority in combat, you usually get between a penalty, depending on the enemy doctrine, of 15 to 50%, which is absolutely massive. As you can see here, our tanks, on defensive wise, the air superiority penalties pull it down to 29. We lose 29% of our defense. It doesn't really affect our hard attack or our soft attack, but still, that is a huge penalty to defense. Now, our infantry, for example, when we attack, they're not really going to have that issue. As you can see, they do have a little bit, but it's nowhere close to that penalty of right here, the defense of 29%. It's not really anywhere close to the 29. It's only 22.80. Now, here's the reason that's different and how you can actually fix it. If you add anti-air into your divisions, the more AA you have, the more of the penalty from you not having air superiority it will pull down. Now, as you can see, all of our infantry divisions here have support anti-air, and then the more you upgrade them, I actually do have a couple mods on, which I'll talk about later if you guys want to. They're awesome. Basically, it pulls down the enemy penalties, or the bonuses they get from air superiority, each level of AA that you get. Now, it doesn't say it on this list, but if we go ahead and cheat a little bit and actually get all the bonuses from anti-air, now we're going to click our division, and our defense is, oh, that's a tank division. Back here, instead of the 22%, now it's already down to 21, and it's actually getting lower and lower depending on how equipped the divisions are with the new anti-aircraft upgrades. So it's really cool, but also remember, under the doctrines, let me turn it back off, several of them actually give these bonuses, like air-land battle for the United States, or not the United States, but superior firepower players. It's this one right here. The air superiority penalty is an additional 20%, which would have bumped it over here up to 50%, for example, which would have been absolutely massive. Next up, this is something you can actually do in every game to get a ton more factories. So as of right now, now that we've taken out France and Poland, what's up happening is we have a combined total of about 164 military factories and 154 civilian factories. Now, this is probably one of the most irritating things to me that people don't know they can do, and it can actually change a game like that. In case you couldn't hear it, you probably did. I snapped my fingers to show how quick that was. So basically, here's what you have to do. As you can tell, like I said, we have 164 mills, 18 dockyards, 154 civs. Or if you want to look up here, we have 336 factories in total. Now, what we can do is go over here to our flag, go over to occupied territories, and bump this up. Now, once we put it on the max on all these territories, now instead of 164 mills, 18 dockyards, and 154 civs, 164, 18, 54, our numbers have absolutely skyrocketed. We've gained about 40 military factories, we gained about 8 or 10 dockyards, somewhere in that ballpark, and we've gained almost 20 civilian factories. Now, when we go back down, we go from 408 factories to 336. Now, here is the reasons you would do this, and also it's not just that, but also the resources in these areas as well. Whenever you take a territory, you automatically start your occupation territory policy on gentle, which means you get about 80% of the local resources, you get 20% of the local manpower, you get 60% of the local factories, and the occupation cost is your political power per day. So, whenever you bump this number up, instead of getting those numbers, you get all of the territory, but you don't get any of the manpower, and it costs your political power more daily. So as you can see, occupation 17, if we bump it all up again, occupation has bumped us up 2.68 political power a day, but now you'll be able to get all the territories, resources, and factories, but you won't get any of the manpower. Compared to the lowest one, you can do this and you'll get more manpower. Now, here's one of our big thing when you do this. This means that your resistance growth will absolutely skyrocket. Now, we have a bunch of divisions right here. Right now, it tells us we would require 77 divisions of this type to be able to stop the resistance. Now, if we lowered this all to, say, the gentlest, instead of the 77, now it's down to 38. So really, it has a requirement where you have to send more divisions to keep it under control. You spend a little bit more political power, but you get an absolutely insane, ridiculous amount of more factories and resources compared to the other way. Next up on our list is how to get research unlocked early. This is something I do as the United States guaranteed every single game, and even Germany, including in multiplayer. This will usually give you construction about 2 months ahead of time and other research slots a lot earlier as well. So here's how it works. Basically, you need to keep one of your research slots open. Now, we're going to go ahead for this and just use construction 1 as an example, along with our electronical mechanical engineering. Now, you can do this with other things too, like land doctrines, armor technology, anything like that. Just make sure it's not ahead of time, or else it will seriously lower the amount of days you get to keep. Now we're going to let these 2 research slots save days. Now, when you hover over this line, it tells you how many days have actually been saved up. Now, once it hits 30, you're then able to apply those research slots onto the other research up here. So basically, we're just going to let this build up to 30 days. I don't care about all these extra notifications. Wish I could just disable them all for just a moment. Come on, and boom, 30 days. So now what you're going to do is whatever technology you want to boost, you're going to select that slot. Right now, mechanical computing is 48 days. We'll swap that to, say, a land doctrine. Now, instead of being 48 days, you're going to go back into here, okay? You're going to go back into your research panel and select one of these slots that has 30 days saved up. And instead of being 48 days, we're going to use the research bonus, go back into whatever else it was you were previously researching. And now instead of being 48 days, it's 19. For construction 1, instead of being, how many days was it? 125. Instead of being 125 days, now we've bumped it down to 96. And basically, the easiest way to do this is apply this to the basic machine tools, followed by dispersed industry instead of construction, because that way you'll usually have dispersed or concentrated, depending on your preference, about 2 full months before anyone else in the game. This actually will unlock them faster than if you even had a 100% bonus for them at the start of the game. The next thing on my list is probably one of my definite favorites. It is called Consolidate units. So basically, here's how this ends up working. So if you have a bunch of divisions that are undersupplied and a few that are fully supplied, here's what ends up happening. Normally, you'll get what's called just basic reinforcements. Now, with every reinforcement that you get, your experience level is going to slowly start dropping because the divisions that you're bringing in to replace them have no training. So you're going to be slowly lowering your experience, which means if you have anything major, like, say, veterans from nationalist Spain, you really don't want to lose that probably. You really want to keep that as close to a high level as possible after the Spanish Civil War is over. Now, here's what you're able to do. If you have similar templates, all right, you can't do it with 2 different army groups. You can have something like this and, say, some cavalry. Let's go back down here. You can't consolidate different templates. It has to be the same template. All right. So now that we've done that, as you can tell here, like I was saying, we have several of the same tank divisions that are all trained, and we want to keep them that way instead of having to lose experience. So you're going to consolidate units. Now, what they will do is, as long as they're sort of a close to experience level, they will begin sort of merging the templates together instead of having to send too many reinforcements. So we're already down to 10, 9, hang on, there's definitely more they're trying to get together, 9, 8, it's probably going to be about 7 or 6, honestly. Now, you have to be really quick about this, because as you can see here, this guy is already a level 2 trained. Now, he is not going to be able to get there in time. Let's see, where is this guy actually? Where is he? Where is he? Well, okay. Well, basically, this guy is not going to be able to get it done in time, but probably more than likely, this division's going to group up with him. Now, once they are there... Yeah, see, he already got bumped down to green, so that's why it's really important to keep an eye on this and try to get it done as soon as possible. But if we were to merge these two templates, a rookie with a trained, he's going to go ahead and find the rookie template. Oops. Double-clicked it. And he combined forces to fully strengthen it up. Now, this is why you want to catch it before they actually lose the level, because what this does is it will stop them from receiving any extra recruits and just merging templates together to keep them at the same level that they already are, whichever one reinforced into whatever. So basically, this is a really cool trick to actually keep your divisions at a medium to high level of experience, as long as you're able to stay on top of it if they're in their own army group or something like that. And then you can just merge templates together to keep them that way, so they don't have a penalty in combat like this guy now does, or something like being able to have a bonus in combat if these guys were veterans. For the next thing I'm going to show you guys, it is rocket artillery is almost hands down way better than regular artillery. Now, here's a basic artillery. By the way, we've gone into our tree and we've actually unlocked both of the max level of artillery. So it's really debatable if you want to say, because they're not technically on the same level. And this one's a 1943 artillery, this one's 1942, whatever. I don't care. They're about the same level. So here's how you can make them way, way, way better. If you were just to upgrade to regular rocket artillery, your heart attack would drop by 1, which is pretty dramatic in multiplayer once you really get down to when you lose half of the rocket artillery's heart attack. But then your soft attack goes up almost 2, breakthrough goes up 4, but your defense goes down 3. Now, here is where it gets really overpowered. So instead of currently our 49 soft attack, we're going to get rocket engineering. And instead of that 49, our artillery is now at 55 soft attack. The defense is 15, breakthrough is 12. Now, here's why. Basically, if you go back to the experimental rocket technologies, once you get to this level here, it starts, again, I will tell everyone these mods in the description, down here, the soft attack bonuses for all artillery, including support rocket artillery, regular rocket artillery, rocket motorized artillery, and then the actual, technically, the real rocket motorized artillery, all get bonuses to soft attack. Each level is 5% more soft attack each and every time, which means you'll have 5, 10, 15% extra soft attack. And that also ties in with one other thing. If you have the ability to, whenever you can, make a 20 with infantry division and make sure to add both regular artillery, I'm going to show you the difference, add regular artillery along with rocket artillery, because adding those two together can boost your soft attack up to about 70, and then defense only goes up a little bit. But soft attack also does damage against somebody's defense and their breakthrough correction when they're attacking you. So this will really give your divisions an extra 70 soft attack. Even for tank divisions, that would be pretty huge to give someone an extra 70 soft attack. That's a little extra bonus tip as well. Next up on our list is how to get extra oil from synthetic refineries. Now, usually what ends up happening is if someone needs oil in Hearts of Iron 4, they're going to go up here, they're going to be like, oh my god, I'm in a deficit of 28,000 barrels a day. You should never really have that bad. But what you would do is go to construction and start making synthetic refineries. Now, the reason is because this actually boosts up your rubber and your oil output, or your fuel gain. Now, what people do is they go into your technology here, industry, and they start getting oil processing. Right? That is completely normal. That is what everybody does. However, this side also gives you bonuses for refineries as well. Each one of these gives an extra 10% refineries. This one over here gives 50. So that means if you take all these refining technologies over here, this will be an extra plus 50% of fuel gain you're gaining from the refineries, plus any oil in your own territory to begin with. So this would be another 50% over here. Compared to over here, each one of these technologies is 50%. So essentially you're getting an additional 4th oil processing by going down this line here. Now, these last two things are probably really easy to cover, so I'm just going to go through them really quick. You can access a special map mode menu inside of Hearts of Iron 4, and I covered this previously in its own video, I think, but a lot of people still didn't catch that compared to the new people on my channel. Hit Control F1 on your keyboard, and it opens this little map mode. Now, if you don't have access to Control F1 for some weird reason, you can always go to this little button here and click it, and you'll be able to pull this out. Now, what this does is have tons of different map terrain systems you can look at. You can click this one and you can view the states in the world. I know this probably just blinded some people, I'm sorry. You can also look exclusively at resources instead of having to go down here. But really importantly, my favorite ones are for people who play multiplayer, because you can click players and it will show all the players in the world. This is probably a bad example because I know a little exploit where you can change your name to a single letter in Hearts of Iron 4, and then people can't see that you're actually on a country, which is really funny to do, but evil in multiplayer games because you give people false hope, making them think that countries they want are available. Wink. But really, you can also check population areas. It'll have like different colors for it. You can see Germany has 7.43 million, and Berlin over here is 5.2. You can look at the terrain system here, which will give you ideas about where you can attack from with no penalties versus place with penalties. You can look at ideology, so you can tell communism, democratic, fascism. It's really a lot of different options in here. They're really fun to mess with and check out. It's really cool. You can also check out the factions like Allies, Comintern, Axis. It's really helpful depending on how you use it in a multiplayer game. Now, the last thing I wanted to cover. People do not research self-propelled artillery 1, medium self-propelled artillery 1, and this is why, okay? The only reason you would ever really research this is because of the armor bonuses on it. That's it. And using a self-propelled artillery versus a tank for artillery is absolutely ridiculous. You should never do that. Here's the reason why. If you compare these two, this is a light 2 self-propelled artillery. It's this one right here. This one on the right is a medium 1 self-propelled artillery. Do you notice anything special here? The soft attack is actually exactly the same. Now, if you hover over it, you can see it's because of the Mon bonus. It actually went up by 2. You know what? Actually, let me get rid of that really quick so you can see a little bit easier. But if we go back into here, as you can see, this is a Wesp. This is a Grill. Light self-propelled artillery 2, medium self-propelled artillery 1. This is actually cheaper by about 2 tungsten, which is really helpful for the people that have to produce these because it's less tungsten, which is a more expensive resource in the world. Plus, they have the exact same soft attack, 42-42. This tank is faster by 4 kilometers per hour, 12 kilometers versus 8. The piercing is only slightly lower, which isn't going to make a difference because it's a tank. It's a self-propelled artillery tank meant for attacking infantry and soft targets. It's not supposed to go up against tanks anyway. Oops. There's no reason whatsoever you should really ever research the medium 1 self-propelled artillery versus this. Aside from the armor, there is no reason to get this one over this one. Now, the armor is kind of bad, obviously, but you have to think. If you're using these, they're either going to be in light tank templates, which you're going to need for speed already, which speed is pretty close as it is at 12 kilometers per hour, or you're going to have with medium tanks where their speed is already 8 kilometers per hour, which pulls this down anyway. Other than the armor, and you would lose more in combat versus actual tanks, which again is a bad idea, there's no reason to pick this one over here, the medium self-propelled artillery 1 versus the light self-propelled artillery 2. Anyway, guys, that was not really 10, but several tips for Hearts of Iron 4 I have for new and old players that are really all pretty seriously pro tips that I see people like tommyk and a few other big YouTubers out there use very often, and I have experienced it in my 5,500 hours or something like that in Hearts of Iron. I think I'm actually at 5,700 now. You know what? Let me check. Hold on. Yep, about 5,600 hours. So, anyway, guys, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I will see you guys next time. Stay awesome.